Thor was in the heroes group, Alan, and together they helped take down the Demon King, Gizbar. However, Thor was a support mage, and his type of magic is known as the babysitter magic. This is a nickname given to the support magic because the world really doesn't know how important it is. Even though the world doesn't give him the credit that he deserves, Thor still makes sure he fights to protect his friends. During the fight against the Demon King, Thor provides his teammates with a shield and a holy attribute, which helps them fight better during the battle. 10 years after defeating Gizbar, Thor now works as a teacher in Velen Magic Academy, where he teaches support magic. While his peers have become professors or associate professors, Thor's support magic causes him to be stuck as a regular teacher doing bottom jobs and chores. Thor never wanted a life like this, but he already expected that it was a life he might get. Unknown to people, support magic can enhance not just people or equipment, but also spells too. As long as it contains mana, support magic can help buff or debuff it. It is a really useful and important magic, but the world doesn't see this since when it comes to real fights. Attack magic just finishes off the enemy faster, and there is usually no need for support magic. Even though the support magic is quite good for covering weaknesses, the enchanted gear and items that have been developed have easily replaced its uses. Because of this, people just assume that all the magic does is babysit others, and it gives the support magic a really bad reputation. Due to this, Thor has lost almost all of his students, leaving just one person. While walking in the school hallway, Thor runs into other teachers who just dump their work on him since he has nothing to do. They even tell him to help clean the courtyard, saying their students messed the place up. Thor returns to his office and wonders if it is really time he starts to prepare for his retirement. However, he plans to finish the office work, clean the courtyard, and then quit his job. Just then, he sees some boys harassing a girl. He takes a closer look, and this is when he realizes that the girl they are picking on is the only student who still attends his class, Reina Regnitz. She is getting picked on by a dude, Gibold Zaksberg. Gibold asks her out, but she rejects him, and he is not taking it like a proper gentleman should. Thor understands how Gibold feels, but he doesn't think he should resort to violence. Thor walks over to the group, politely asking them what the issue is. However, Gibold turns to Thor and laughs at him, mocking him for being a nobody. His minions also trash-talk Thor, calling him a useless support mage. They ask him why he is disturbing them, and Thor stands in front of them, pointing out the fact that Reina is clearly uncomfortable. Gibold gets really pissed, reminding Thor that he is the son of Count Zaksberg of the Empire. Thor simply replies that he is aware of this information, but tells Gibold that the Academy is a place where anyone is entitled to learn magic, no matter their rank or birth. Thor disses Gibold, telling him that his position as a count's son doesn't matter as long as he attends the Academy. Gibold loses it and decides that attacking Thor is the next thing, even if he was in the heroes' party or even their teacher. He angrily throws a punch at him, but Reina catches the punch and with a firm grip she squeezes Gibold's arm, sending a wave of pain through his body. Reina then tells Thor not to worry about her since she is the one the brainless dudes are after. However, Thor tells her that he can't stand by and watch. Reina then comes up with a proposition. She suggests that she and Thor team up in a magic duel against Gibold and his two minions. Reina assures Gibold that she's going to marry him if he wins the duel. In fact, she is ready to do whatever it is that he wants. Thor is shocked, and sweat drips down his face when he hears this. Thor reminds Reina that marriage is a really big deal and she shouldn't be throwing it around randomly. In a calm manner, Reina reminds Thor that all they need to do is win. She begs Thor to accept, and because the dudes will obviously not disturb her again if she wins, Thor decides to accept the proposal. Gibold is confident that they have it in the bag, and in no time they head to the training grounds. Gibold tells Reina not to go back on her words, but Reina just ignores him. Reina tells Thor that she will do everything and not put the workload on him. Without wasting time, she rushes in and dashes toward Gibold and his guys. Reina only tells Thor to support her while she takes on Gibold. Thor is worried that Reina might get hurt, and Reina asks him if his magic is so useless that it can't protect her, but she says it in a polite way. Thor is left dumbfounded, and because of this, he tells Reina that he is going to have to trust her judgment. Reina thanks Thor for this and leaps toward Gibold. Thor casts a support spell and he makes Reina the target. Reina feels the spell taking effect and admits that Thor's magic is incredible. Thor also shifts his target to Gibold and his minions, and instead of a buffing spell, he casts a debuff on them. Gibold fights through this and manages to launch a big fireball at Reina, but Thor targets Reina's sword and adds a water attribute to it. With the effect of the water attribute, Reina is able to cut down the fireball, and she gets a straight aim at Gibold. Before Gibold realizes what is happening, Reina is in front of him, aiming her sword at his throat while asking him if he still wants to keep going. Reina points out that she can easily push the blade into his throat if he decides to continue. Realizing the danger attached to continuing the fight, Gibold concedes defeat. His minions are shocked to see this since Gibold is supposed to be one of the Academy's top prodigies. On the other hand, Thor is impressed with Reyna's skills and the way she moves with the blade. Gibbald is dragged away from the training grounds while promising to make Reyna pay for what she did. Thor then suggests that they leave too, and Reyna agrees. Unknown to them, they are being watched by the Academy's headmaster. Later on, Thor gets called to the headmaster's office, and to his greatest surprise, the headmaster fires him. Thor is shocked down to his bones, and he is forced to ask the headmaster why he is getting fired. He tries to remind the headmaster that he already explained everything that happened with Reyna and Gibbald to him. The headmaster then says he has only been tolerating Thor because he was hired by the previous headmaster, but he claims that the Academy no longer has a budget for support magic. He tells Thor that he is basically useless in the Academy, and they don't want someone like him again. Thor freezes in shock, as if he had received a bullet to the heart. However, he already knew that something like this would happen eventually, since everything related to support magic is getting scrapped every day. He knows that the headmaster's claim to let him go because of money is just an excuse. The headmaster admits that the real reason he is getting fired is because of his fight with Count Zoxberg's son. Apparently, they receive lots of donations from Gibbald's father, but Thor tries to protest against this. Thor mentions that Gibbald was trying to extort Reyna, who is also a student, but the headmaster just smacks the table, telling Thor to keep his mouth shut. The headmaster claims that trying to stay true to the old ways will only prevent the Academy from growing. He believes that they need to make compromises to get funds, equipment, more staff, and even more prestige. Because of this, the headmaster tells Thor that he is not fit to work in the Academy any longer. Thor then asks the headmaster if the students are being treated based on their status and money, but the headmaster has no answer to this. He knows he is wrong, but he tells Thor that he has no choice but to leave the Academy with immediate effect. Realizing that he can't change the headmaster's mind, Thor tries to make a last request about Reyna, but the headmaster screams at him, telling him that he doesn't care about a random student. The headmaster tells Thor to get out of his office, and Thor has no choice but to quickly leave. Thor is left in despair as he walks away from the office, but just then he runs into Reyna, who is there to thank him for helping out against Gibbald. Thor tells Reyna that she has nothing to thank him for, and then reveals that he has just been fired, which means he only has one more lecture left with Reyna. Reyna is shocked when she hears this, and she immediately figures out that the teacher was fired because of her. But Thor tries to take the blame away from her, revealing that he already has intentions to quit. Thor then thanks Reyna for coming to his lectures, saying he is glad he could help, even if it is a little. Reyna then mentions that she has no reason to stay at the Academy since Thor is quitting. Thor hears this and immediately gets serious, grabbing Reyna and telling her not to throw her future away. Thor reminds Reyna that she is talented and that she should stay in the Academy until she graduates so she doesn't end up like him. Calmly, Reyna tells Thor that he doesn't have to worry about her since she already has enough credits to graduate. Thor is shocked to hear this since Reyna is just in her second year. He had always known that Reyna was talented, but didn't know it was up to that level. Reyna reveals her worry that the teacher is leaving, but Thor assures her that she will be fine since she has a knack for learning so fast. Reyna then decides that it is futile to try and stop Thor from leaving. As Reyna walks away, Thor calls her and lets her know that he sincerely wishes that the support magic he has taught her would help her in life. The following day, Thor packs his things, ready to leave the Academy with no regrets. However, he is stuck with where he is supposed to go. He doesn't have enough money to start going around to sleep in inns. Suddenly, Reyna appears behind him, asking him what he plans to do. Nervously, Thor replies that he wants to wander around just like the old days when he was still an adventurer. Just then, Reyna gives Thor a letter, telling him to show it to the palace guards if he ever goes to the imperial capital. Thor is shocked to hear this, as he has no business in the palace. Reyna then reveals that she has an acquaintance at the palace, and this is someone who really respects Thor. She lets Thor know that the said person might even help him get a job. Thor is relieved when he hears this, and because of this, he takes the letter from Reyna. With this, the two go their separate ways, but Reyna appears to be more than she is letting off. Some days later, Thor makes his way to the imperial capital where he meets the emperor, Heinrich. Thor bows to the king to pay homage, but Heinrich tells him to skip formalities and just look him straight in the eyes. Before meeting the emperor, Thor had followed Reyna's instructions. He arrived at the capital and gave the letter to a guard at the palace, and immediately the guard saw this. He smiled, telling Thor that they had been waiting for him. Thor was genuinely confused when he heard this, but the maids soon let him into the palace to serve him with the best cake and herbal tea that they had. After this, the butler shows up and he starts taking Thor on a tour of the palace. Thor remained confused as to why he was being treated so kindly and gently. He started wondering who Reyna's friend is, and it was later that he met the emperor. Heinrich appreciates Thor and thanks him for helping the empire at a time when it was facing a great peril. Thor replies that he was only doing what any adventurer would do. He adds that he is nothing but a support mage, claiming that his friends were the ones who did all the work. The Emperor laughs at this, saying Thor is just being modest. The Emperor then tells Thor that he is ready to give him anything, be it a title or whatever it is that he wants. Thor is shocked to hear this since everything he got from Reyna is a recommendation letter for a job, and now he is being asked if he wants a title. He asks the Emperor if it is some sort of mistake, but the Emperor says no. Just then, the Princess Elena appears, telling Thor that she saw the letter from Reyna. Thor is shocked when he realizes that Reyna's friend is a princess. He bows to Elena, apologizing to her since he had no idea that she was a princess. Elena just blushes, telling Thor that he doesn't need to apologize. Elena then suggests that she show Thor his room since he must be tired from his long journey. In addition to this, she is prepared to answer whatever question Thor has. The Emperor then leaves Thor in the hands of his daughter. After leaving the throne room, the two sit down to talk. Thor addresses Elena formally, but Elena tells him to take away the formalities, assuring him that he can call her by name. Thor is still not comfortable with this since he cannot just call a princess by her name. Thor then asks Elena if she truly knows him, since this is what her friend claims. Elena smiles, telling Thor that he might not be aware of the fact Thor once saved her life, and from that moment, Elena has adored him. In addition to adoring Thor, she claims that she also wants to seek his guidance. However, being a princess made it impossible, which is why she truly envies Reyna, who got to sit one-on-one with Thor. Thor is flattered by the princess, and he tells her that his abilities might not be up to what she thinks. Elena then tells Thor to stop being modest. She knows that Thor is like this because Reyna mentioned it. In addition to that, Reyna revealed that his lectures were always interesting. Thor is shocked to hear that his lectures are interesting. This made him so happy that he started thinking of the class sections he had with Reyna. The happiness in him almost made him tear up, and this is when Elena asks him if he is looking for a job, to which he says yes. Thor reveals that he is trying to find something that he can do, and since the imperial capital has many people, he thinks this will work. After hearing Thor's desire, Elena asks him if he is willing to become a court magician. This job proposal throws Thor off the rails as he never expected it. He is forced to ask again so he can confirm, and Elena reiterates what she said. Elena tells Thor that he will be stationed at court so he can use his magic to solve any problem that arises within the empire. She assures Thor that housing and food will be provided for him. In addition to this, he will be receiving 100 gold coins as salary. Sweat runs down Thor's face when he hears the amount of money that he is being offered as salary. Apparently, 1 gold coin is enough to support a person for a whole month, and he is being offered 100 of those. He nervously says this out loud, and Elena smiles, telling him that he will even get his money in advance. Thor is genuinely shocked and confused about everything. Realizing that there might be a catch, he asks the princess what she wants from him. The princess then reveals a shocking request, telling Thor that she wants him to marry her. The request hits Thor like a hammer to the head, leaving him completely speechless. When Thor leaves the meeting with Elena, he doesn't take her proposal seriously, as he thinks it's a joke. However, he remembers that he has already eaten the food given to him, which means he is a bit indebted and has to be careful about what he needs to do. Just as he reaches the entrance of his room, he sees a lady there. The lady excitedly welcomes him, saying she has been waiting for him. Thor takes a closer look, and this is when he realizes that the person standing in front of him is Reyna. He doesn't want to believe this, but Reyna assures him that she's the same Reyna she knows. Thor then asks her if she really quit university. She mentions that she did, but she got her graduation qualifications. However, she couldn't stay at the school since Thor is no longer present to teach. Thor is brought to tears as he is surprised that Reyna went overboard just because of his support magic. Thor thanks Reyna, revealing that he was able to get a position as court mage because of her. However, he believes that Elena's estimation of him is over the top. Reyna assures Thor that he will do just fine. In addition to this, she is ready to support Thor with everything she has. Thor is confused when he hears this, and this is when Reyna finally reveals that she is also a court mage. Apparently, Elena sent Reyna to the university so she could improve her skills and be better at doing her duties as a court mage. Thor is worried that the princess would be mad at Reyna for quitting university. But Reyna reveals the big truth. It was the princess who actually told her to start taking Thor's lectures. Because of this, Reyna tells Thor that he has nothing to worry about. She's basically there to support Thor in all of his endeavors. She smiles brightly while assuring Thor that he can count on her. Nervously, Thor tells the girl that he will also do his best. Just then, Reyna tells Thor to stop being formal since she is his assistant. This shocks Thor, who doesn't think it's right for Reyna to be his assistant, but Reyna shushes him, reminding him to remove the formalities. Thor has no choice but to accept, and he asks Reyna what it is that a court mage does. Reyna excitedly tells Thor that he is free to do whatever it is that he wants. He is free to go on holiday and even go on a shopping spree. These are things that he is free to do without asking for permission from anyone. Thor is shocked to hear this, asking Reyna if what she just described can be called a job. Reyna then says no, but puts the blame on Elena. Apparently, it is the duty of the court mage to serve the princess and the royal family. They all work under Elena, but she rarely gives out tasks. However, in times of war, the court mages follow instructions from the division commander in charge. It dawns on Thor that as long as there are no orders, there's nothing for them to do, and Reyna affirms this. Just then, Reyna suggested that they pay a visit to the division commander. Thor agrees to this, saying it is good to know one's superiors. Reyna then tells Thor to follow her. They arrive at the office door, and Reyna knocks while introducing herself. A voice from inside the office then tells her to enter. Reyna and Thor enter the room to find a chubby dude sitting in a chair surrounded by two girls. The man is Beden Zoxberg, and it turns out that he's the deputy commander. Reyna is not particularly fond of Beden, and she tells him that she has brought Thor to see him since he just became a court mage. Beden's face lights up in shock, telling the two that he hasn't heard anything about assigning a new court mage. In addition to this, Beden tells Reyna that he hasn't seen or heard of her before. He asks her when she became a court mage, and she says 3 years ago. She even shows Fatty her badge before he finally believes her. Beden looks down on Reyna, telling her that she won't get important tasks to work on. He then turns his attention to Thor, asking him who hired him, and Reyna reveals that Thor was appointed by the princess herself. Beden thinks over it before revealing that he has not gotten a word of it. Reyna is aware of this, which is why they came to visit the division commander. Beden then reveals the absence of the division commander, which is why he is currently in charge. Even though Reyna doesn't like Fatty, she still tells him that they would be glad to work with him. However, Beden says he has not yet agreed to hire Thor since recruitment falls to him. Basically, he means no one can become the court mage without his approval. Reyna is shocked to hear this, asking him if he is trying to disobey the princess's orders. Beden twists everything upside down, telling Reyna that he's not trying to disobey Elena, but he doesn't think it's right for them to hire someone they know nothing about. Reyna admits that Beden's reason is valid, but she thinks disobeying the princess is already ruining the whole existence of the court mages being under the princess's authority. Reyna then tells Beden that talking to a mere division commander will cut it. She suggests that they leave, but this pisses Beden off. Thor then decides to resolve the issue diplomatically. He asks Beden if it is his intention to test his abilities to see if he is fit for the role of court mage, and Beden says yes while telling Thor that he looks useless. Beden tells Thor that he is only accepting that he tests his abilities because he pitied him. He then asks Thor what his abilities are, and he reveals that he can use support magic. This only makes Beden laugh even harder, just as expected. Thor then asks Beden to give him a chance to show what he can do. Thor promises to step down if his abilities are not good enough. Beden thinks over it and reluctantly agrees. Apparently, the school is just about to conduct the recruitment examination. Beden tells Thor to showcase his talent during the examination, and Thor bows his head, assuring Beden that he will do his best. Beden only laughs at him, telling him not to get in over his head and die during the competition. Soon afterward, the applicants for the recruitment examination gather. The bell is rung to call the attention of those unaware, and Thor is surprised that the bell has been ringing for an hour without anything happening. It turns out that Gibbold is part of the participants, and his voice can be heard trash-talking someone, and a female for that. Standing beside him is the deputy commander, Beden, who turns out to be his trash father. He tells Gibbold not to worry about Reyna, as she is not a threat to him. Gibbold starts talking trash, saying he is the future division commander and there is nothing that can change it. Suddenly he notices that Thor is also with Reyna. Sweat runs down his face in fear, realizing that he might be cooked. He is surprised that Thor is standing next to Reyna, and he gets a quick flashback of what happened when the two teamed up against him in a duel. Gibbold immediately runs to his father like a scared chicken, leaving his confused father to start asking him what the problem is. He simply tells his father that he is giving up on his dream to be a court mage, but his father grabs him, telling him to stop spewing nonsense. Gibbold just keeps repeating that he is done for, and Beden turns to Thor, asking him what he has done to his son. Innocently, Thor just raises his hand, telling Fatty that he didn't do anything, and all they did was just have a duel when they were back in the academy. Beden hears this and gets really pissed, but Gibbold remains hidden behind him. Beden then tells Thor that there is no need to go back on the examination since they are holding it to test Thor's abilities. He tells Thor to get himself ready, and he raises his hand, declaring that the examination has begun. He turns to Thor, telling him that he is going to test him personally. Thor still plays along, begging Beden to take care of him. Since court mages are specialized in delivering good magic, and Beden already knows that Thor is claiming to be a pro in support magic, he has something in store for him. Standing behind him is a knight named Velgar, and he tells Beden that he has brought the newest recruit from the Royal Knights. This new recruit had the worst battle evaluation, Badon then tells Thor that he will be paired with the new recruit, who is a shield-bearing warrior. He will be fighting against Velgar and Gibbold. The new recruit is shocked to her bones when she hears the formation Badon has for her. Even Reyna is shocked since Velgar is considered to be really strong, even though he is just 20 years old. Reyna is not impressed that Velgar is being sent after a rookie, saying the difference is far too great. Just then, Badon mentions that victory is not a condition, saying he is going to be lenient when it comes to the victory assessment. Thor then turns to his teammate, introducing himself to the scared lady. The lady stammered, revealing that her name is Mia Valberg. Mia is the eldest daughter of the Baron of Valberg. Apparently she passed the Royal Knight's exam in the provinces 6 months ago, and she just arrived in the capital the day before. When she took the assessment test that took place on the day of her arrival, she ranked E. Reyna explains that she is good with the shield, but her weakness is completing missions alone, which is why she is considered a candidate for dismissal. Thor is shocked when he hears this, as he doesn't expect Reyna to be so blunt with her words. He tells Reyna that there are things she should say, and there are things that are best kept to herself. Mia doesn't take offense as she nervously tells Thor that everything Reyna said is true. She reveals that Velgar is considered to be only second to the Knight Commander himself, which shows how strong and efficient he is. Mia doesn't mind getting fired, but she is worried that she is going to drag Thor down with her. Just then, Reyna tells Mia to stop saying nonsense, because with Thor with them, they are not going to lose. Reyna turns to Thor, suggesting that he supports her take. Thor is blown aback by the ambush, and he nervously tells Mia that they will be fine. He assures Mia that he is going to do his best to make sure that they win. While saying this, Mia is left in shock, and Thor continues by urging Mia to give her best. Thor's assurance gives Mia the encouragement and motivation she needs, and she makes a fist bump, telling Thor that she will do her best. Badon calls on Gibbold, scolding him when he realizes that he is still shaking in fear. Gibbold cannot get over the fact that he has to face the scary lady Reyna. He tells his father that Reyna is very scary. Just then, Badon tells his son that Reyna is not his opponent. He says Gibbold will only be fighting Mia, who is considered a nobody and a support mage. Badon grabs his son, assuring him that they have no chance against him and Velgar. Badon smiles evilly, telling his son that there is no way he is losing. Hearing this from his father gives him the confidence that he needs, and he boasts that his victory is assured. Badon even tells Gibbold that he is free to kill his opponents if he wants. Gibbold smiles at his father, assuring him that he is going to trash both his opponents. Meanwhile, Velgar is a bit cautious. He knows that Gibbold has potential, but he is not the man he thinks he is yet, and being the wise knight he is, Velgar is particularly cautious about Thor. He knows that something about Thor seems really off, and he appears to be a dangerous man. Badon announces that the exam is a proper battle format where they get to use any magic or weapons available to them. He adds that they are free to surrender when they believe that they have lost or been beaten. While making the announcement, he turns to look at Thor and his partner, and he smiles. Reyna is also worried, since she knows what Velgar is capable of. He is said to have slain 2 dragons, which are considered to be the most dangerous of monsters. He is basically a true hero, and Reyna thinks he is the most worthy opponent that they can go against. Even Badon is assured that no one among the participants can match up to Velgar's strength. In addition, he believes that his son's fire magic is incomparable in the entire empire. He believes that only the Knight Commander might have what it actually takes to rival them. The duel begins, and Gibbold cooks up a really big fireball, telling Thor that he is not scared of him as long as Reyna is not in the picture. He launches the fireball at his opponents. Thor screams at Mia, assuring her that he is going to handle the fireball since flame spells are basically useless if prevented from landing. Thor knows that the first thing he has to do is delay the casting, and while that is happening, he is going to completely disperse the spell. Thor immediately targets Gibbold's fire spell, and he unleashes a purging spell to counter it. Gibbold is shocked when the fireball in his hands disappears. He is left questioning his entire existence as to how and why the fireball disappeared. While standing there in shock and confusion, Velgar makes his move. He dashes past Gibbold and tries landing a hit, but Mia's shield is able to block it. Velgar's assumption is right as he confirms that Thor is no ordinary person. Since he has come to this conclusion, Velgar decides that he is going to get serious, and he screams at Mia, telling her not to take whatever he is about to do personally. Thor figures that Velgar's gear and equipment will have resistance to debuffs, and instead of weakening him, Thor decides that boosting Mia's strength is the way forward. Thor then shifts his target to Mia and her shield. Mia activates her shield spell, the Iron Wall, and Thor assures her that her shield has been boosted. He lets her know that her shield should be able to withstand Velgar's greatsword. Mia thanks Thor for the help, but just as Velgar approaches him with a powerful slash engulfed in a golden aura, Mia freaks out. Velgar's blow lands on the shield, but just as thanks to Thor's help, Mia and her shield are able to withstand the hit. Thor then realizes that Velgar's continuous strike will not allow Mia to hold up. Thor decides to attack Gibbeld first. Thor turns his attention to Gibbeld and with a simple spell knocks him into dreamland. Badan is shocked when he sees his son crash to the ground. He screams at the fighters, telling them to call off the duel. He tries stopping the exam, but Reyna appears behind him and, with a simple spell, she takes his voice away. The fight continues and Velgar is still on Mia, slashing at her shield repeatedly. Thor casts a spell to try and slow Velgar down. However, Velgar's sword technique is so powerful that it cancels Thor's spell before it even has the time to activate. Since he can't debuff Velgar, Thor decides to help with Mia's acceleration. Thor then screams at Mia, telling her to swing her mace down with all of her might. Once Mia acknowledges the order, Thor targets her mace and casts a heavy strike spell on it. Mia smashes the mace to the ground, leaving a bright light, and Velgar considers the move a puny one. He says the move doesn't have enough strength behind it to stop him. Velgar then dodges Mia before heading for Thor at great speed. The moment Thor realizes that he is being targeted, he casts a spell in his surroundings. With the amount of speed and force Velgar is coming with, he doesn't know that Thor has cast a counterspell. Velgar's attack hits, but to his surprise, the sword shatters into pieces. Velgar is left stunned as he realizes that Thor's magic basically made destroying his weapon possible. He concedes defeat and admits that when it comes to being a mage, Thor is on another level. On the other hand, Mia believes that she still has a lot of training to do. Velgar then turns to her, commending her for doing a great job, and he urges her to do an even greater job at training the next day. Velgar then reveals that they are heading to the headquarters, and Mia excitedly acknowledges the order. She stands back on her feet, turns to look at Thor with a bright smile on her face, and bows before leaving. Reyna runs over to Thor, celebrating the victory with him. She congratulates him on passing the exam, and Thor thanks the lady. Suddenly, Badan shouts, saying the exam isn't over yet. He claims that the exam isn't just one match. He tells Thor that he has to pass the next trial, or he might as well trash his dream of becoming a court mage. Reyna and Thor are both disappointed to hear this. However, Thor doesn't argue, and he assures Badan that he is ready to face the next trial as well. Reyna is shocked and worried, but Thor assures her that he will be fine since he wants to know his true strength. Thor wants to truly see if he is worthy of being a court mage. Badan is happy to hear this, and he immediately points to a mage, telling her to beat Thor and even kill him if she must. It turns out that the person Badan pointed to is also a court mage named Luna. Luna asks Badan why she needs to fight Thor, and Badan tells her that she is the commander's daughter, and that she needs to set an example. He demands that Luna do her duty even if it is just a little, but Luna claims that the commander is not worthy of being her father. Badan is surprised that Luna is rejecting the duel, asking her if she is willing to shame her father, the commander. Luna just scoffs, telling Badan to do the job himself. Luna adds that Thor looks super weak and not worth her time. However, Badan manages to trick Luna into agreeing, and she decides to blow off some steam by fighting Thor. Badan is relieved to hear this since he knows how strong Luna is. He knows that she can be very annoying, but she is also one of the strongest among the court mages. Badan is pretty sure that Luna won't lose to Thor, who is nothing but a support mage. However, he is also thinking of it as a chance to bury the commander's annoying daughter. He thinks of turning things around and dirtying his hands. Luna walks up to Thor, asking him if he is the applicant since he already looks old. Thor says yes, and he notices that Luna channels mana into her staff, which is a sign of an experienced mage. Luna blushes when she hears this, and she commends Thor for not treating her like a child. On the other hand, Reyna scolds Luna for calling Thor an old man on their first meeting. Tension immediately builds up between the two, and Reyna continues by telling Luna that she is supposed to properly introduce herself and to also show respect to strangers. She tells Luna that this is what makes an adult. Luna hears this and only vents out her anger by screaming. Thor stands between them, trying to calm them down. Because of Thor's intervention, Luna claims that she will forgive Reyna, but still calls Thor an old man. Luna then introduces herself before telling Thor that he has to fight her to pass the exam. She tells Thor that whoever grazes the other with magic first will be considered the winner. She also mentions that she is free to fight as she wants, so Thor is also free to do whatever he likes. The fight begins, and Thor makes the first move. He casts a wind and water spell and attacks Luna with it. Luna is playing around until the spell hits her, telling her that the fight has already begun. Luna has water all over her body, shocking her. However, she receives the greatest shock when Reyna holds Thor's hand in the air, declaring that he is the winner. Luna tries to argue that she only let her guard down, but Reyna reminds her that she already set the rules for the duel. Since she said whoever lands the first blow wins, Thor has automatically won. Badan is pissed, mentioning that he hasn't taken his position as a judge yet. He demands that they redo the duel, and Thor asks Reyna if she would not mind if he fights Luna again. Reyna is not impressed with the way things are, since Luna is at fault for letting her guard down. Thor is forced to try and convince Reyna to let him have another round of a duel against Luna. He tells Reyna that the previous duel didn't show his true strength. Since Thor insists on fighting Luna again, Reyna is forced to agree. Luna then assures Thor that she will not be holding back this time around. With this, Thor tells Luna that he will also give it his all. Luna lights up her staff, letting off a glowing green aura. Thor also casts a spell, preparing for her attack. He knows that debuffs won't work directly on Luna if she is as strong or stronger than Velgar. He tries to cancel her magic with the same type of magic, but he realizes that this might be impossible since the power gap is too much. Luna unleashes a power spell, hurled at Thor, while telling him that the real fight is just about to begin. She uses a water spell, Mega Aqua, and while casting the spell, Thor is left wondering what he is supposed to do. He thinks of dimming the spell's energy with support magic. However, Luna does something crazy by unleashing super high-level spells of elemental magic one after the other. She takes on several magics all at once, impressing Thor instead of him getting scared. He realizes that Luna reminds him of someone he knows because of the difference in talent. This person is someone Thor adventured with when he was still an adventurer. Apparently, Thor and this said person started learning magic around the same time. But in no time, this said person surpassed Thor. Thor was obviously jealous, but there was nothing he could do since he had no exceptional talent. Since he didn't have the strength and power to be in the limelight, he decided that he was going to use everything he had to protect his teammates and help them reach their potential. This was the reason Thor put his all into mastering support magic, but in the end, he was left behind because he was considered useless. After recounting his past, Thor realizes that he has to go back to focusing on the duel. Luna is getting frustrated as the duel progresses since Thor is predicting all of her moves. She tries shooting a spell at Thor, but to her surprise, she messes it up. Not ready to give up, she casts a lightning spell and tries to hit Thor with it. Thor is forced to run from where he is standing before he gets hit. However, everything was going according to his plan. He casts a stealth spell, and following this, he activates the acceleration spell to make sure that his presence is hidden. Using all of these spells, he is able to blind Luna, leaving her totally unaware of what is going on in her surroundings. Before Luna can react, Thor gets to her and he strikes her from her blind spot, pushing her clothes with air and revealing her underpants. Immediately this happens, Reyna raises her hand, declaring that they should stop the duel. She announces that Thor is the winner, and even Luna cannot argue this. Luna realizes that her decision to cover her mouth resulted in her blocking her field of vision, and she created a blind spot without even realizing it. Thor, on the other hand, is glad that he won, but not totally impressed since he was able to get the edge over Luna because he is more experienced in combat. Thor admits that Luna could have overpowered his magic with brute force if she really wanted to. Thor is left wondering if he is really worth being a court mage. Meanwhile, Beedon realizes that everyone's attention is on Thor and Luna. He decides that it is time for him to play his hand, and he unleashes a Thunderstrike lightning spell. Thor sees the magic circle in the air, shocking him. He wonders why the lightning spell that was activated during the duel is still active. In addition to this, the strike is headed straight for Luna. Thor wonders if it is a result of a spell that went berserk, but before he starts figuring out the cause, he decides to save Luna first. Thor dashes toward Luna while telling her to throw her staff in the air. Luna is confused, and before Thor can even explain anything, he casts a float levitation spell and accelerates it. Luna does as told, even though she has no idea why. Just as she is about to throw her staff into the air, she realizes that the lightning spell is still active, shocking her. Nonetheless, she throws the staff into the magic circle, and it reacts with the spell, ultimately stopping it. Thor manages to get to her just in time, and he grabs her. He carries her like a bride, causing Luna to blush, and she starts making up excuses on how she could have stopped the spell too. Luna feels very embarrassed that Thor is carrying her, and she screams at him to put her down since it is all over. Thor puts the lady down, and Luna starts boasting, telling Thor not to think he won because he saved her. Thor just stands there in disbelief as Luna walks away, promising to completely dominate Thor the next time they fight. However, Beedon is still pissed that Thor won again, and he tells Thor that he is not ready to acknowledge him. He smiles evilly, telling Thor that there is no way he is going to accept him. Suddenly, knights in golden armor show up at the venue, and they tell Beedon that they have been given a royal decree to take him. Apparently, he has been charged with the embezzlement of public funds, giving bribes to the Magic University, and the abuse of power within the Court Mage Division. The knights let him know his cup is overfilled already, and without wasting time, they put him in chains. Beedon is shocked at the sudden turn of things while trying to claim innocence of whatever it is that he is accused of. Beedon is ordered to be taken away so he can face his punishment at the hands of the Emperor. While he is being escorted away, Beedon keeps pleading that he is innocent of all the charges against him. Reyna is disappointed that Badon stooped so low to do the things he is accused of doing. Thor is only disappointed that Badon had enough skill to get himself to the position of vice commander, but he wasted his career because of corruption. Reyna then tells Thor to forget about the corrupt man, and she congratulates him on passing the exam. Thor thanks Reyna, but he is still worried that he is not qualified. Reyna then tells him that he is appointed by the princess, and if that is not enough, he manages to pass the exam fair and square. Reyna assures Thor that he is totally qualified to be a court mage because his support magic is unrivaled in the world. After the exam, Thor retires to his room. He heaves a sigh of relief that he passed the exam, even if it is not a formal exam. He is still thinking about the events of the day when he hears a voice at the door, asking if she can come in. Thor assumes that it is Reyna, and he tells her to come inside. Just then, Elena walks into the room, apologizing for the vice commander's rudeness and his disappointing actions. Realizing that he misjudged the voice, Thor uses an acceleration spell to get off his bed and runs to Elena to bow to her and offer his greetings. In the process of trying to get to Elena, Thor had hit his foot, sending waves of agony through the area. The princess then tells Thor that he doesn't need to act all formal around her. Thor offers Elena a place to sit, and she accepts. Thor asks Elena if she summoned him, but she says no. Thor then tells Elena that he is quite sure that Elena is disappointed in the exam, and he also admits that he is not sure if he is fit to be a court mage. However, he is glad that he passed the exam, and hearing this, Elena asks him how he feels. Thor blushes while telling Elena that he can manage. In addition to this, Thor is excited to be in the palace since there are other talented mages there. Elena then tells Thor that she was impressed by his display of magic. Elena confesses that she was watching from a distance, and she says Thor looked cool during the entire exam. She adds that she has also taken a liking to Luna. When Thor hears the princess's evaluation of him, he is surprised. He never thought someone would consider his magic to be cool. He starts blushing since he is not used to getting compliments, and getting them repeatedly at the palace has left him totally flustered. Elena then tells Thor to stop being modest since he is a skilled person. She urges him to have more confidence in himself, and after saying this, Elena tells Thor that it is time she leaves. She then tells Thor that he is free to ask for anything that he wants. Elena lets Thor know that Reyna holds him in a place of high standing, and she has promised to do everything in her power to make things easy for Thor. Before leaving the room, Elena reminds Thor of what she told him during their previous meeting. After Elena's departure, Thor starts tearing up in joy. He never thought Reyna looked at him with so much high esteem. Suddenly, it dawns on him that the princess actually made a marriage proposal to him, and she just reminded him of it again. Thor is still freaking out about this when Reyna enters the room. Thor is shocked, asking Reyna when she entered, and Reyna apologizes for startling him, but mentions that she only came to greet Thor. Reyna mentions that she just baked a chiffon cake, and since it turned out well, she wants to use it as a celebration for Thor passing his exam. Reyna has the cake in her hand while smiling, telling Thor that she would be happy for him to have some of the cake. Thor decides to indulge Reyna. He sits down to get a taste of the cake, and after eating he admits that the cake is delicious. Reyna, on the other hand, blushes really hard while saying she is glad that the cake is up to his taste. Thor is glad to have Reyna by his side since she is a kind soul who really loves his support magic. However, he believes that Reyna will be totally disappointed once they start working together. He's pretty sure that Reyna will come to the bitter conclusion that he is not that awesome. However, he wants Reyna to always think he is cool, so he is going to stay himself. Thor then tells Reyna that he is going to do his best, but Reyna replies that Thor is already doing more than enough. Nonetheless, she is ready to cheer her teacher on if he is ready to work even harder. Before Thor knows it, he is already sobbing with joy again. Reyna asks him if he wants another slice of the cake, and Thor agrees to. That night, Elena sits in her room fantasizing about Thor once she realizes that she is all alone and all the maids have retired for the night. She has a drawing book specially designed for Thor, and she blushes really hard while working on Thor's portrait. She talks about how great Thor was during the exam, and she was so engrossed in all of Thor's expressions. To make sure that she doesn't forget any of the expressions made by Thor, she starts drawing everything in her special book. Elena detailed everything down to the moment when Thor saved Luna. She starts thinking of changing the person being carried from Luna to herself. She also thinks of who to switch it with, whether her or Reyna. She calls Thor her ultimate teacher, who deserves every happiness that he gets. At the corner of her drawing book is a bad portrait of Gibald and his annoying father. She thinks of marrying Thor, but she wants to help him get a noble title first. She knows that the marriage thing will be for Thor to decide. As she lies down in her bed, preparing to sleep, she starts wondering what else she can bake for Thor. Soon afterward, Thor gets inducted as one of the court mages. The other mages are not particularly happy with him since the vice commander was indicted during the exam. They believe that the vice commander was framed and the entire exam was rigged. Out of everyone staring at Thor, only Reyna is glad to see him get inducted. Thor tells Reyna that he feels bad for making someone who is as talented as her waste her time, but Reyna refutes this, reminding Thor that she already promised to take care of him. However, Thor reveals that he means something else entirely. He tells Reyna that he would like her to help him out with work. He is thinking of weeding or cleaning just so he can get a reason as to why he is earning such a huge amount of money. But Reyna tells him that there is no need to worry about that since they have people who clean and weed. Thor cannot believe that he is going to get 100 gold coins without doing anything. He sees himself as nothing but a freeloader, and he believes this is going to eat him up entirely. Reyna understands where Thor is coming from, and she lets him know that there is a board with freelance commissions at the court mage office. Since she sees herself as a regular person, she is ready to guide Thor. On their way there, Thor asks her what a freelance commission is. Reyna realizes that she didn't explain before, and she decides to. She tells Thor that the freelance commission is a place where knights and court mages get themselves jobs that are too difficult for regular adventurers or guards to handle. The important tasks become official missions under royal order, and the rest turn into freelance missions that individuals can then work on. They soon arrive at the commission, and they look at the mission board to see the missions left. There are several missions on the board like ore mining, which gets paid by the amount of yield. There is a collection of dragon dung, and this is paid on a fixed quota of 100 silvers. There is also a new drug test, and the pay is 20 gold coins. Also, there is a mission that requires shopping in the neighboring country, and because there is no danger, the pay is 1 gold coin. Thor was already expecting something like this, and Reyna quickly cuts in, saying nothing matches the pay attached to the missions. However, Thor notices that some of the missions seem urgent. He sees a mission from the mayor of Roget Village. Apparently, for the past 2 years, crops have been absorbing poison, and because of this, the crops have been dying. The mission is to investigate the cause of this. Reyna is surprised to see this as a regular mission since she believes that the mission should be under the royal mission, even if the reward is quite low, since they have been surviving on public grain for 2 years. Apparently, adventurers have gone there to check, but none have found the cause, and Reyna assumes that it might not have gotten so bad to the extent of wiping out the village yet. Thor then tells Reyna that he would like to take on the mission to see if there is anything that can be done. Meanwhile, the other court mages hear this, and they laugh at Thor. Apparently, the reward for the mission is 1 gold coin, which is low, and the court mages are pretty sure that Thor will come back with no clue as to what is happening in the village. Reyna can hear them, but Thor tells her not to worry about what the others are talking about. Thor is willing to help people as he believes that this is enough reward for him. Reyna smiles when she hears this, saying Thor is above the other petty mages. Thor blushes while telling Reyna not to provoke the others. Thor and Reyna then start their journey to the village, and even though it is close to the capital, it takes them 2 hours to reach there. Reyna is confident that Thor's support magic will come a long way in helping the village, since they have reported depopulation due to droughts and poor harvests. They reach the entrance of the village, where there is a guard waiting to check them in. They soon meet the village mayor, Graba, who is surprised that court mages actually took the time to come to the village. He bows to Thor, thanking him, but Thor urges him to raise his head and not worry about it. Graba then leads the two to where their crop field is. Thor sees the field and realizes that things are even worse than he anticipated. Graba agrees with him but tells him that wind and water have both been ruled out as the cause of what is happening to the plants. Reyna asks about the soil, and Graba mentions that the soil has also been checked out, but there were no issues found. Graba already comes to the conclusion that they have angered the holy tree, and the villagers have been praying for forgiveness every day. Meanwhile, Thor is still trying to ascertain what the problem might be. He wonders why the big tree in the middle of the crop field is the only one unaffected by the plague. Before jumping to conclusions, Thor tells Reyna that they need to track down where the poison is coming from. Graba tells Thor that the previous investigations didn't yield any results, but Reyna assures the mayor that Thor is well equipped to find out what the problem is. Thor finds the perfect spot for what he wants to do, and Reyna asks him if they will be heading back to the capital that day, and he says yes. Thor casts a purifying spell that uses support magic that heals and prevents status ailments like poison. After casting the spell, the poison suddenly disappeared, shocking the mayor. However, Thor lets him know that what he just did is not enough. The plants start turning purple due to the reaction of the poison again. Thor is able to trace the direction from which the poison is coming, and it turns out to be the direction of the holy tree. Graba is surprised that Thor is suggesting that the holy tree is to blame for what is happening. Graba mentions that the holy tree has been there for 2,000 years, and it has been the spiritual foundation of the village. Graba adds that they rarely go near the holy tree, and Thor acknowledges this, telling the man that he will be respectful in dealing with the tree. Graba adds that there should be no issue with the tree since officials who came before have examined it. Thor stares at the tree and wonders how something so full of life can be the source of the poison. Thor then tells Graba that he won't go closer to the tree just like the villagers, but he is going to cast a purification spell. Graba then permits Thor to do whatever he wants as long as he doesn't harm the holy tree. Thor stretches his hand toward the tree and casts a purification spell that lets off some reaction. Suddenly, something emerges from the root of the tree, shocking Thor. Thor realizes that he is staring at a treant. Apparently, treants are monsters born when a dryad spirit possesses a tree. Treants are known to be weak, but their strength comes from the scales of the host tree. Right in front of them, the tree transforms into a massive treant, leaving Thor in total disbelief since he has never seen or heard of a treant that big. The entire area is engulfed in the purple aura let out by the massive treant. Thor immediately casts an acceleration spell on Graba, telling him to run to the village. Thor suggests that they pull back, but when he turns around, he sees Reyna wielding her sword and ready to take on the massive treant. Reyna tells Thor not to worry about her and to do what he thinks is best in the situation. Thor remembers that he felt the same energy from Reyna when they fought Gibble during the duel at school. He can sense that her sword skills are far superior to those of a regular mage. Apparently, only S-rank adventurers are called to deal with treants. Thor then tells Reyna that he is going to support her while they take on the treant. He casts acceleration spells on Reyna to make her move faster and go after the treant. Reyna leaps toward the tree, but just as she does this, roots emerge from below and Thor screams, warning her. This is enough to make Reyna react and cut down the roots. Thor then figures that he has to aim for the treant's roots. He casts a spell to make the treant slower while Reyna is absolutely fast. Reyna is able to move around pretty fast because of her reflexes, but Thor doesn't think they have enough energy in them to take down the treant. Just then, Thor notices that he has seen Reyna's sword technique somewhere else, but instead of getting carried away by this, he focuses on the fight. Thor tries to look past the treant's size and find a weakness. He tells Reyna that he is going to focus on the roots while she attacks the main body. Thor is impressed that Reyna can read him and think of what he wants them to do before he even says it. Thor admits that Reyna is one of the best swordsmen he has met. Reyna leaps into the air while assessing the tree's structure. She figures out that the treant's branches are like arms. She tries cutting them, but they turn out to be too thick to cut through. Thor can also see this, and he figures out that the thickness of the treant branches is like being slammed around by a wall. Suddenly, Reyna finds a way to break free, and Thor immediately targets Reyna's sword with his spell. Even though the distance between them is a bit far, Thor is able to accurately land his spell on Reyna. Reyna is impressed that Thor is able to cast a powerful spell on her sword even though she is far away from him. Coupled with the spell from Thor, Reyna is able to deliver fast-paced cuts all around the tree, leaving a blazing fire effect. Even with this, the treant remains standing, and Thor is stunned. He knows that an ordinary treant would have gotten trashed. Reyna retreats back to Thor, and they hear a screeching sound from the treant. Reyna is confused about what the sound is, and just then, Thor notices sap leaking from the tree. He wonders why the sap is very watery. Thor then throws away the assumption that it is sap and concludes that the liquid coming out of the tree is water. Thor figures out that the tree is most likely drawing up water from the ground since they are standing in a farmland blessed with lots of water resources. Reyna then admits that the tree is pretty smart for doing this. By using the water drawn up, the treant is able to take out the fire effect left on it by Reyna. Thor notices that the surface of the tree looks totally charred, but he figures out that it's nothing but a scratch on the thick bark. Thor is impressed at how smart the treant is, which is how it was able to fool the villagers and officials for 2 whole years. Thor then tells Reyna to switch up her attack. He tells her to switch the fire veil to ice before striking the treant. Reyna is still trying to figure out what Thor meant by this when the treant attacked. Being the smart girl that she is, she easily puts together what her teacher meant. She activates the flame veil spell, and using the acceleration spell, she goes after the treant. Reyna is able to move even faster since the treant is soaked with water. The treant starts laughing when it realizes that Reyna is coming at it with the same technique. Thor realizes that the treant is overconfident already. Thor smiles since no one would believe him if he told them that he ran into a laughing tree. Just before Reyna can hit the treant, she realizes that it has taken the bait to store water inside its body. However, this is a costly mistake on the treant's part. Reyna screams at the teacher to let him know that she is ready. Thor admits that the treant is pretty smart, but he is a retired academy professor and he cannot lose to a freaking tree. He immediately casts a switching spell on Reyna's sword. He swaps the attack element from fire to ice. Reyna is in disbelief to see this since the spell that Thor just used has a 10% success rate, even for skilled mages, and Thor was able to cast it like it was nothing. She screams at the top of her voice, saying her teacher is awesome, just as she is about to strike the tree. The treant senses the imminent danger coming toward it and the laugh turns to shock. However, it is already too late for the treant. Reyna hits it with the ice-powered attack. Just as predicted, the water pulled up by the flames became frozen both inside the tree and outside of it, thus restricting its movement. Reyna believes that the attack should also prevent the tree from drawing up water, and it's left to them to finish off the treant. Just then, Thor switches Reyna's attack from ice to fire again. Reyna hits the tree with the flame veil, leaving a fiery scene on the treant. With this plan, Reyna is sure that she will be able to burn out the treant's core before it gets the chance to extinguish the fire, since it is frozen. Reyna's magnificent skills, coupled with the intense flames and Thor's support magic, set the treant on fire. The villagers watching this cheer for them, raising their hands in the air to celebrate the defeat of the treant. Thor falls to the ground because he is already exhausted from casting several spells over and over again. Thor is happy with himself since it has been a long time since he helped take down a monster. As usual, he dials down his contribution to defeating the monster, saying all he did was cast support magic. Reyna then joins Thor, with Thor commending her for a job well done. Reyna appreciates the gesture, but she is shocked that she is the one getting appreciated when Thor was the one who did all the work. Thor just smiles while sitting on the ground. The villagers come running over, telling Reyna how cool she is since she was able to use a sword as well. Reyna is flustered, and she tries telling the villagers that she really didn't do anything, pointing out that Thor was the one who did all the work. However, the villagers don't believe this, and all they see is a worn-out guy. Reyna turns to Thor, telling him to say something, but Thor just tells Reyna that she was so cool. Reyna is about to start arguing with Thor when Graba shows up. Thor bows his head, apologizing because the village's sacred tree is gone, but the mayor tells him that there is no need to apologize. Graba tells Thor that the sacred tree was already corrupted by evil, and it is their fault for not realizing this sooner. Thor then tells Graba that the tree will fall soon since the roots have been dug up. Just then, Thor realizes that the fire might cause further damage if not taken care of. The villagers agree to cut it down, and without hesitation, they grab axes to chop down their once sacred tree. In no time, the tree comes crashing to the ground. Thor and Reyna are thanked for staying behind to help with the aftermath of the battle, since it was only due to their help that they were able to safely put out the fire. Graba apologizes that the reward for the mission is small, but Thor tells the old man not to worry about the money. He assures the mayor that Princess Elena has already compensated them. While saying this, Reyna's face has turned bright red like a tomato under her glasses. Graba is glad to hear this, but as a token of gratitude, he suggests that Thor take the ashes and charcoal from the burned-down tree. It turns out that they have already packed them into every hemp bag that they have in the village, and they plan to deliver them to Thor later. Reyna is excited when she hears this, since the ashes of the sacred tree can be used as a rare medicine and potion ingredients. The ashes are worth as much as gold dust in the capital. Graba admits that he planned to use the ashes to sponsor the repair of the village, but since it is too much, selling it all at once will cause the price to drop. Thor then tells Graba that he is going to cast a growth-enhancing spell on the ashes so that they can be used as fertilizer. He wants the mayor to use the ashes for the benefit of the village since the tree once protected the village. Graba then says he will take the ashes, but he doesn't want it to be a reward. Thor tells him to see it as a donation to reconstruct the village. While casting the spell, Thor tells the mayor and the villagers that natural magic is not his specialty, so they shouldn't expect something crazy. Reyna then asks the mayor if the treant ever attacked the villagers, even though it has been there for 2 years, and he says no. Thor reveals that all monsters usually have the trait to attack people, and since the treant didn't attack, he believes that the sacred tree was able to protect the village just like it has been doing for years. The villagers realize this and turn to the burned-down tree, thanking it for helping. After this, Thor and Reyna take their leave, and the villagers bow to them, thanking them as they exit the village's entrance. Graba admits that Thor and Reyna are both nice people, since most adventurers will not even stay to help with the aftermath of the battle. Suddenly, a villager runs up to the mayor, telling him that there is an emergency. The mayor runs to where his attention is needed. The villager shows the mayor where they scattered the ashes given to them by Thor, and plants are already growing at the spot even though it is just minutes. The plant is growing right in front of them, and the villagers conclude that it is the sacred tree's blessing. On their way to the capital, Reyna is finding it difficult to acknowledge all the praise heaped on her by the villagers. She cannot believe that they are praising her as if she were Princess Elena. Reyna's plan was to make sure that the teacher shines and gains fame, but she believes that she is just getting in the way of that. Just then, she hears Thor calling her name. Surprisingly, Thor apologizes to her. Reyna is stunned, and she asks Thor why he is apologizing to her. Thor reveals that he is apologizing because he made Reyna handle the aftermath of the battle with him without asking her first. In addition to this, he made Reyna stay in the village overnight. Reyna blushes, and she gladly tells Thor that she is happy to stay overnight with Thor. Thor is relieved to hear this, and he mentions that he can see how worried Reyna is. Reyna then urges Thor not to bother himself about that. As usual, Reyna is glad that Thor is worried about her. She then tells Thor that she is only a bit tired, and Thor wishes her a quick recovery. Reyna smiles like a teddy bear, thanking Thor for being so kind. Reyna thinks about evaluating the fertilizer that Thor made in a few months. She knows that even if it takes time, it will be counted as an achievement for Thor once he is knighted, and will also help to gain the villagers' trust. Reyna is ready to do everything in her power to make sure that everyone recognizes how powerful Thor is. Just then, the thought of marrying Thor crosses her mind.